Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
Republicans of Reddit, how do you feel about Trump calling himself king in his recent Truth Social post? IDK about others, but my 79-year-old super pro-Trump neighbor has stated outright now, I'd rather live under a dictator than a Democrat, so IDK. Feels about right. This is basically the stance I've seen echoed especially on the conservative sub. They literally don't care about anything other than seeing their opposition suffering. This is why we will never be united. The modern right is such an embarrassment that it doesn't even have an ideology anymore. Its entire identity revolves around hating and opposing anything remotely left-wing, to the extent that it will happily contradict all of its supposed values, to the extreme in the process. Donald Trump is the absolute antithesis of what are supposed to be so many conservative ideals: family values, the rule of law, restriction on government power, free speech, the list goes on, and yet they all idolize him because he owns the libs. It's quite pathetic, really. Frankly, I think some of them don't actually take any of it seriously. Americans, in general, have gotten so comfortable with things seeming scary, but generally working out, for some of them. I consider myself fairly well read and I'm certainly not without imagination, but I'll admit, I still have a hard time believing the looming travesties that tend to follow these patterns. I mean, I understand logically what's going on, but my mind and body almost can't even process the nightmare that's taking place right now. I'm plenty worried. Terrified, even, but when my mind isn't on it, I'm just worried about having to wake up and work tomorrow. I just snap back to what I know, what I've experienced in my life. It's hard to fathom, in entirety, what is coming. Through it all though, the pit in my stomach and sense of dread stays with me. Some part of me is quite on edge, but again, especially as an American, I feel I've gotten a little too good at ignoring the screaming voice inside myself. I think this is key. I see all the parallels between this administration and Hitler's maneuvering in the 1930s. But there's a part of my brain that just refuses to believe it could actually happen again. I can believe things will be bad, but I can't get myself to truly believe that the US will become a bona fide dictatorship. Of course, this doesn't make sense because we've seen dictators rise multiple times in modern history, and it's not like there's any physical difference between the people of today and the people of 80 years ago. It's on the official White House Twitter as well as deportation ASMR. I've never been made to feel physically sick by an administration, first time for everything. Who TF is running the White House socials? It's like they're trying to replicate the sassiness of the Biden social media campaign, but they did not understand the assignment. Over at R, Conservative, they're trashing on their own conservative member who posted to discuss how this is alarming. The most common display of the cognitive dissonance is, he's just trolling. Conservatives' mental gymnastics is like going on mushrooms or LSD. I can't take this shit anymore. Like that's any better. I do not want a president who trolls. I want a fucking leader. Edit, the king's minions and have found me in their UPSETTI spaghetti. Facebook as well, with an image of him in a crown. Shuts down the cope of, he didn't mean he's the king. Quote. Yet I have still seen the argument, he was talking about New York, obviously. Quote. ITT, no Republicans. As per every single time this type of question is asked on this site. It's because we can't ask in their subreddit. If someone genuinely wants the answer to this question, our conservative is the direction to go. But as a veteran of asking that question, the response will be, the woke left doesn't understand Trump's humor, and, typical liberal, focusing on a joke and not Trump's work at removing congestion pricing. Both the conservative and Republican subreddits have rules explicitly stating that posts from non-relevant parties are banned. They've created an echo chamber for themselves and abhor negativity. The woke left doesn't understand Trump's humor, and, typical liberal, focusing on a joke and not Trump's work at removing congestion pricing. Followed immediately by, but he would actually make a great king and I can't wait for him to run again in 2028. Not one Republican will reply to this post. All the replies will be from Democrats. As a non-American, there will also be comments by all the people outside the US insanity bubble and can see the raging dumpster fire into which this neatly fits. As an American who's seen this dumpster fire growing from back when it was just glowing embers, I wish I could GTFO of here. I truly, truly do. Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king. Tywin Lannister. Why post here? Go to R, Conservative and you'll see, or just jump Twitter for 5 minutes. They are beyond thrilled at everything he's doing. Sure, some point may have raised some eyebrows, but they deeply want all of this. The government is broken, Trump is the savior. Ukraine is in the wrong. Canada should be annexed. They genuinely and deeply believe this to be true. It's scary as a Canadian. Plus it's exhausting. I've already uninstalled Twitter and banned a bunch of conservative subreddits. Edit, corrected grammatical error to clarify that I've already uninstalled Twitter. Also wow, this blew up unexpectedly. I won't be responding to individual comments as there's way too many at this point. Hope everyone has a good night. One of the posts on that page has this line in the first sentence. Trump has proven time and again that his statements come from information that the public don't yet have access to. Which also reads, Trump can just make shit up and I'll believe it. He got called out with, blindly trusting anything without receipts is cult behavior. I said this and probably still voted for Trump. Whenever anyone over there gives the slightest bit of hesitation towards something Trump or his administration is doing, everyone else goes wild asking them to have their flair removed by the mods because they're not a real conservative unless they agree 100% with what's happening. For talking shit about snowflakes, that sub-sure is a huge fucking safe space tears of joy. What's funny is reading the comments on a story that just came out. Many are semi-critical, especially regarding his Ukraine statements lately, for the first few hours it is posted. If you go back 6+ hours after it was posted, all those critical posts are either deleted or downvoted to oblivion, and the most popular ones are those cheering or saying he isn't going far enough. All I know is that the people who have compared him to Jesus know nothing about Jesus. H is literally the Antichrist embodied. Just like in Revelation, H is tricking a majority of Christians to follow him. The power of the Antichrist is to deceive people into thinking he is the Christ. I'm a Republican but never voted for him once. Today I had a day off so I went down and changed my voter registration from R to I, not so much because of this comment, but should have done it a long time ago. The MAGA cult doesn't represent traditional Republican values, so I left the party. I left the Republican Party during Trump's first term. I've never voted for him and feel disgusted by him and his cronies. In my opinion, the Republican Party has abandoned their supposed principles and the Constitution. I hate having to vote for Democrats, but they're the only adults in the room now. I don't know if I can ever vote for another Republican again after this. I deeply appreciate people like you. Seriously, thank you for being one of the few actual conservatives that still have conservative values and don't worship Trump. You are a rare breed. Honestly, as a Dem, I respect this. I always say I wouldn't mind voting for a Republican if they had the right values. I'm only 26, so the Biden election was the first one I was fully able and knowledgeable to vote in, and in my mind I really thought, are all of them like this? Quote, funnily Biden is a right-wing centrist by any other country's standard. They don't give a shit, but if Biden or Obama had referred to themselves as a king they would have had a complete mental breakdown. Fred, are you kidding? They raged about the amount of exec orders Obama used. Trump has nearly as many EOS in his first month than Obama's first 2 years combined. And we're not even quite at a full month yet. They raged about the tan suit he wore. They're not acting in good faith. Shit, if Obama did that you would have heard the N-word on Fox News within an hour of the post. With the hardest R at the end that rolls like saying ruffles have ridges. Which they already do, I'm sure, just not on air. Yet. I'm sure he didn't say that, he doesn't really mean it. Looks like you have a case of TDS, Orange Man bad. All the conservatives I know say this sort of thing. Nothing will change their mind. It's just him winding up the libs. No, it's on the official White House Instagram account FFS. They all have the same comeback, no original thought in their comebacks. No original thoughts whatsoever. Everything they think, say, are spoon-fed talking points from Fox News or Daddy Trump. Nothing else matters to these people. It's only true if it comes from Fox News or Donald Trump. But yeah, definitely not a cult. How many times do we have to go through this before people accept that there will be no gotcha moment for Trump supporters? It is a cult and they don't give a shit about anything you can bring up. Literally this. People keep saying, it's a cult, like they give a fuck, or know what that actually entails. Take your pick from their limited selection. He's joking. He's not joking, and I support it because I'm so darn angry about XYZ on the current 24-hour news cycle. Insert deflection or whataboutism. Edit. I've since changed my mind, but only because it affected me personally. I didn't think he'd take away my TPS, abortion rights, etc. He didn't say that. And if he did, he didn't mean that. And if he did, you didn't understand it. And if you did, it's not a big deal. And if it is, others have said worse. Quote. I've never been particularly partisan, but I spent about 10 years as a registered Republican. The party I was registered with no longer exists. I didn't abandon my party abandoned reality. Same, 41M Texas Republican. Voted straight Republican my whole life, but proud to say I have never voted for Trump. I am done with the Republican Party. I saw a meme a couple of weeks ago, Q, how many MAGAs does it take to change a light bulb? None, because Trump tells them it's fixed and they clap in the dark. That's been my go-to saying for any time I see anything going on in the US that makes me raise my eyebrows. Oh look, the MAGAs are clapping in the dark again. But what happens when someone actually changes the light bulb? They ignore the person who actually changed it and praise Trump for bringing them light, like a modern-day Prometheus. I'm very curious as to why the Trump circle jerk that is our conservative isn't saying anything about it at all. Not a peep. Because they haven't seen it on Fox News yet, so they don't know what their official stance is going to be. The picture was posted in the afternoon and Hannity isn't on until 9. By 10:15 they'll be all over the place spreading how Hannity told them to feel. They're probably deleting posts that bring it up. In the post about Ukraine, there are a lot of conservatives mortified by what Trump is saying. You wouldn't know right away because it appears a mod set the default sort to controversial. Which brings the MAGA mouthpieces up to the top of the thread. Edit. At this point I'm certain that subreddit is moderated by the Russian Internet Research Agency.